Hello and welcome back to my channel. This has been a crazy month of reading. Let's do our February wrap up. I read 19 books in the shortest month of the year. Can I help you? At the end of January, we read Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, and this book was phenomenal. I gave it 5 stars. You have humans and vampires, deadly trials. The female main character, Araya, she is a human and the heir of the Vampire King. And she is joining these deadly trials against the strongest vampires alive in the hopes that if she wins, she gets a wish from the goddess. We went from enemies to lovers back to enemies. Like this was just a phenomenal book. If you haven't read it, you need to read this. This is so good. Now, after the twist that was at the end of this book, I jumped straight into book 2. Book 2 is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. And I ended up giving this book 4 stars. It was still good. It was still really good. But there were parts that I felt like dragged on just a little bit. And like parts where I felt like nothing happened. Like we were just stuck in the same spot. And overall, though, it was good. I still gave it 4 stars. But the epicness of book 1, it was hard to compete with that. Will I continue the series? Yes, because book 3 is about Mish. And I love Mish. Mish is one of my favorite characters. I don't want to say too much and give anything away, but still highly recommend this series. If you haven't read it, go read it. Next, I read Amid Clouds and Bones by Ella Fields. And I've seen a lot of controversy on this. Either you love it or you hate it. You're one or the other. There's no in between. I loved it. I absolutely ate this book up. I'm not going to say too much because this is a book you need to go into blind because there are twists and turns everywhere. And it's going to leave you just like, what the heck? What did I just read? This was great. If you want tension and banter and spice and just tons and tons of drama, this just might be you. Oh, and it's a standalone. Fantasy standalone. So you're not committing to a 2, 3, 4, 5 book series. Not too bad. It's only 352 pages. Not bad at all. This book is about a half-fae princess that is the daughter to the human king. And the Seelie Fae are searching out for this alliance. They need help against the Unseelie. So this marriage is brokered between her and the Seelie prince since they were little. And that's all I'm going to say. I rated it 4 stars. Go read it. Next was Of Blades and Wings by Eliza Reign. And this book surprised me. I did not think I was going to like it. I just wanted something short and sweet and quick I could get through, kind of like a palate cleanser from everything else I was reading. And normally I go to romance for that. But this time I went to fantasy because it's the shortest book on my shelf. This book was great. I love a cliffhanger that just sucks me right into a series and makes me jump into book 2 right away. Stop what I'm doing, put down everything else, and jump right into the next book. And that's what this gave me. If you want a slow burn, Vikings, fae, mystical creatures with soul bonded animals, this book is for you. Now, it did take me a little bit to get into the story. So if you're feeling like it's a little slow at the beginning or you're slightly confused, push through it. It's worth it. I ended up not just reading book 1 and 2, I read the entire trilogy. I believe there's more books in the series, but the first 3 books follow our 2 main characters. And it was great. I had a great time. The next book I read was Twisted Glass by Savannah Ryland. This is the probably smut edition. And just looking at it, I was like, I'm going to love it. I love motorcycle books. I love reverse harems. What could go wrong, right? Wrong. I did not love this book. I thought about DNFing it probably like within the first 20% of the book. And I pushed through it because I was determined to like this book. And unfortunately, this just wasn't for me. And I ended up giving it a 2 stars. Twisted Glass is about a girl that is kidnapped by these bikers. And there is There is some scenes you need to check your trigger warnings for, but she gets kidnapped and the bikers find out that she's not the person they think she is. Turns out she has a twin sister and that's actually who they're after. So while she's there, she starts falling for these bikers and they become so much more to her. I loved the idea of the story. I love the premise of it. The execution just fell short for me. So it is a really pretty book though. Next, I read Marked by Destiny by Maggie Lynn, and this book had me so excited. I was kicking my feet throughout half the book. If you haven't heard of this yet, check it out. I'm not going to give you too much information. Another book I think you should go in completely blind if you like adventure, fated mate, banter, tension. The found family in this is some of my absolute favorites. I just love these characters so much. Book 2 comes out this year, I believe. Totally worth it. It is a chunker. There is a good amount of world building, but it's needed because I think book 2 is going to pop off. It was so good. I'm currently working my way through the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. And everything I read by Elsie Silver is just like, I know it's a 5-star. I love the way she writes her men. Honestly, there's no competition. Her men are just superior. I don't know what she does. I don't know what she puts in these books. It follows Cole Harding and Violet Eaton. And Violet is a jockey working at Cole's ranch, his family ranch. And Cole is a grump. And the way they meet is through a spicy site where they don't know who the other person is. Highly recommend. Listen to this. She says, "Okay, you said you don't like horses." "Yup," he grunts as he turns his back on me and crouches down to line up 2 boards. "But I like you." Oh my God, where are these men? Perfection. It just melts my little heart over here. If you haven't read these, do it. There's so many books. I know I've said that quite a bit, but I had a great reading month and there's just book after book that I loved and would highly recommend. Then I jumped straight into The Umber King by Jamie Applegate Hunter. And this book was great. Our female main character, Rory, had a twin sister who she watched get murdered when she was younger. So her entire life, she has been working towards finding her sister's murderer and getting her vengeance on him. Just so happens, she comes into contact with the Umber King, and she believes that he is her sister's murderer. This book was great. If you like feminine rage, you want a feminine rage book, this is perfect because her rage, she's not just angry, her rage consumes every essence of her being. You're going to get amazing character growth. You're going to get a good balance between plot and spice, which is so important. You don't want all spice and you want a good plot, but you want some mixed in. Here you go. And the side characters make you fall in love with them too. This book also has a Morley Gray FMC, Shadow Daddy MMC, found family, fated mates, spice. It has a little bit of everything you could want. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Then I jumped into book 2, Eternum, and I had high hopes. I had really high hopes, but this book was not as good as the first one. We're dealing with some memory loss here. Let's just say it that way. And I feel like everything we learned in book 1, we now had to relearn, and that was really tedious for me. It wasn't done in a way where I felt like I was getting new information. It was done in a way where I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's remember everything we just read in the other 400 or 500 page book. It was a satisfying conclusion, but I think I just would have read book 1 and been happy leaving it off and just being happy with book 1. YA fantasy books can be very hit or miss. This was a hit. The Do-Over by Lynn Painter was perfection. I loved these characters. It is about two kids that are in high school. Our female main character is stuck in a time loop. So she is reliving Valentine's Day over and over and over again. And she's trying different things and trying to get out of this loop and see how she moves on with her life. But like she keeps having her boyfriend cheat on her. And because of the loop, she's having to see it over and over. And she keeps running into this other guy. Now, those aren't spoilers. That's what's on the back of the book. This romance was so well done, and the book didn't even focus on the romance. It had so many special moments for our main characters that we watched them experience, so many life lessons. This is just a phenomenal book, and I enjoyed every second of it. I then read Till Death by Miranda Lynn, and this is a big book. So what happened with this book is my lovely kitty down here decided to eat the protective cover. I took it off and realized that the hardcover is gorgeous. So we're all good. At least he didn't chew on my actual book. Here is another standalone, fantasy standalone that is completely worth your time. Unwilling Assassin, Gods and Goddesses, Touch Her, and, Found Family, Forced Proximity. This book had a little bit of everything. It was so good. It's a very unique world. The only issue I have with this book would be that I knew where it was going. I knew what the ending was going to be way before the book ended. But I don't think that took anything away from it. Book 2 is coming out soon. I want to say within the next couple months, if not this month. I'm going to have to check on that. Book 2 is coming out, and it is another standalone fantasy based off a character in this book. What I don't like, though, is I have no reason to read book 2. I have no interest in it. Because at the end of this book, at least in my opinion, I don't know because I haven't read book 2, so I don't 100% know that this is what's going to happen. But I am 90% sure the end of this book spoils the ending of the next book. And I don't have a reason to read book 2 if they wouldn't have put a certain part in this ending or wouldn't have put a specific scene in this ending. I would definitely be reading book 2. Given, do I know the journey that this character takes to get there? No. So that would be cool to see, but not anytime soon. I'm good. And then I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This was my first Ali Hazelwood book. So I don't know too much about her writing. I don't know if maybe she's not the author for me. Is this book as bad as everyone says it is? No. It's well written. It's a well written book. Was I confused? Yes, I was very confused. We started off the book with like 50 Shades vibes where there's like research about certain types of things you can do with each other, like comparing them to each other and kind of seeing, do we like the same thing? And there's this emphasis on kinks, right? And the original girl who's dating our male main character gets them together because they like the same kinks. Okay, cool. Like, that could be fun, right? But I'm not sure where the kinks were in this book. And no, did I read this book for that? Absolutely not. I think the swimming and the learning and the growth that the character goes through was really good. But I don't know why so much emphasis was put on them being kinky. I don't know. Maybe I just read too much dark romance. That could completely be it. But I didn't find it kinky. I thought 50 Shades was way kinkier than this. I also thought it was weird that a side character was brought up so much throughout the whole book. And I would have liked to see a little bit more focus on our main character. Like, it annoyed me. I don't know, maybe like the friend and the main female character annoyed me. They were just extremely annoying. I did like our male main character. But again, it was just a very weird relationship. But I did think it was interesting, the swimming aspect of it. I did think the healing and growth was good. I thought the writing was good. I just think maybe it's just not for me. I gave it 3 stars. Next, I read How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. Oh, at first, I opened like the first couple pages and we're throwing scientific terms out there. I haven't My brain was like, wait, am I smart enough to read this? Because I don't remember anything from science. But after I got through those first bits where I was just kind of boggled, this was great. This was a good time. You have a human female who is researching moths. And this is the old cover. The new cover is way better. But she's researching these moths that are possibly going extinct, I think. And she's trying to find a way to help them repopulate. She ends up in the Fey world and just shit goes downhill real quick. Real quick. Twists and turns all over the place. And the ending, oh my God, jaw-dropping. Jaw-dropping ending. Did not see this going where I thought it was going. I can definitely see how this is not for everyone, though. This specific book was for me. I jumped straight into What Did You Do? By Janine O'Reilly, which is book 2 in the Infatuated Fae series. And I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Whatever. I didn't like it. It was okay. Coming off of book 1 and book 1 being so strong with so many twists and turns, this one just gave me the ick. Will I pick up book 3? I don't know. I'm going to have to. I have it. It's sitting on my shelf. I'm going to have to give it some time and see what I feel like doing later on. But so far, I've read some reviews of book 3 and they're not that great. So I don't know if I'll sit through it. Somebody convince me to keep going with this series because book 1 was just so phenomenal. It was so amazing. I need more of that in my life. Then I read The Final Rose by Amy Oliveira. And this is the probably smut edition. Super cute. Our male main character is from the UK. And he is going to go on a show that's similar to The Bachelor. Our female main character, I think she's a producer on the show. And I thought it was okay. It's not very memorable for me. I could see how if you like shows like The Bachelor, this book, it could be right up your alley. It's pretty short. Was a really quick read. I read it within a day. I just thought it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. But it wasn't something that I would rave about. I would say it's like a maybe. If you like stuff like that, read it. If you don't, you're probably not going to like this book. Then I read Desire or Defense by, I think it's Leah Brunner. And we got a hockey romance, right? He is a defenseman for the DC Eagles. She just lost her parents and is the caretaker of her younger brother. He has a really hard time controlling his temper and is told, listen, you're going to coach this hockey team. And it just so happens to be her brother's hockey team. This was so cute. Oh my gosh. There's a scene in here where our male main character looks over and notices that the sister's upset and that she's having a rough time. And the little brother says that he thinks it's because she's too short to put together her home gym. So the next day he shows up with his teammates to put it together for her. So stinking cute. I love this. I gave it 4 stars. If you like hockey romances, this is for you. You will not regret reading this. Then I read a book that everybody's been talking about, and I thought they were crazy. I thought I was going to dislike this book. It's Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I read Master of Salt and Bone, and that just wasn't exactly for me. But Nocticadia is. I know why. So I've been calling him Daddy Death this whole time. I didn't realize that it's actually not Daddy Death. It's Dr. Death. But whatever, you know what? We're going to stick with it. I get why people call him Daddy Death or Daddy Deverick, whatever the heck they call him. He is delicious. Like the second you start the book, and this isn't a spoiler, they're mentioning these black worms and it coming out of this lady's mouth. And I was just like, this is disgusting. But it's awesome. Carrie Lake put science into the book in the right way. It didn't make me feel dumb. I could follow along easily enough with the scientific things they were talking about. And I love that. I love when an author can give me pieces of something that interests them in a way that I don't feel dumb and I can understand it and I can be excited about it with them. And that's not something that's easy to do. And she did it perfectly. So as I ramble on about this book and not even tell you what it's about. It's about this girl goes through a very traumatic situation in which she loses her mother. She tells everybody the symptoms her mother had, what she's seen, what she experienced, and nobody believes her. They all say she's nuts. So when she's in college and she's writing a paper about a fictional disease, she writes about what she experienced with her mother. And her professor submits her paper to this prestigious university that's on an island off the coast of Maine. And that just so happens to be the one place where they study this disease that her mother had. And she's not crazy. So she gets to go into this university to study with Dr. Death. And as she's going through and learning about this disease, all these twists and turns come up. It is so good. I have only a couple of auto-buy authors. One of them is Abby Jimenez, and all of her stories are just so heartwarming, and they're different. They're heartwarming in a different way than Elsie Silver's books. Like, I love the men Elsie Silver writes, but I love the vibes that I get from Abby Jimenez books. It's very homey and comforting, and there's usually a ton of growth with her characters as well. She has a little novella out, a vampire. See what's on my mind. A Valentine's Day novella called The Fall Risk, and it's only 84 pages, but it is so cute. Our male and female main characters are renting next to each other, and they come outside one day and the stairs are gone. They can't get down from their building. So they're essentially stuck in their apartments for the entire weekend. They just make it so cute and special, and you wouldn't believe the amount of story you get in 84 pages. I would have loved it to be longer, but it was phenomenal. I loved it. So much happened, but it's not like anything was missing at the same time. I gave it 5 stars. If you like Abby Jimenez, you have to read this. So cute. Overall, I had an amazing February. So many good books, so many adventures and fun times. I love months where I'm so sucked into my books that it's like mini vacations throughout the whole month. And that's what this month was. When I read a book, I don't just read words on paper. And I find it so interesting that not everybody sees things the same way when they read, but I see a movie in my head. Like I'm watching the movie. And in my 4-star and below books, I'm just watching it play out like I would on TV, but in my head as I read. In my 5-star books, I'm in there. I'm there with my main character. They're my best friends. Like, we're going through this journey together. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading wrap up. I want to know, what was your favorite book that you read in February? I need some more book. Well, I don't need more books on my TBR, but I would love to put more books on my TBR. And I would love to know what your favorite one was of the month.